Okay, here we have a 1955 Thunderbird. Nice car. Not a perfect car, but a really good driver. We're going to go around the car, have a look, talk about the good and the bad. The way I like to discuss cars is using a perfect Concours car as the standard and showing you what's keeping this from being in that category. And there's a number of things. Car was not restored to be a Concours car, but it's a very good car. So let's have a look. Give you a little history of the car as we walk around. The owner of this car had bought it in 2007, come from the Texas Hill Country, and he got terminally ill, passed away, and left the car to his son. And so in the 3 or 4 years his son has owned the car, I think he's put 50 miles on it. He just doesn't drive it much. It's just sat in the garage. Talked to me about selling it for him. And so I had a look at it, and I could see that it was an older restoration. But it's one of those cars, the more I looked at it, the better it got, which is not normally the case. And I think it's a car, if you just look at the photographs, look at this video, you're going to say the car is near perfect, at least on the top side. But that's not quite the case. The photos always hide some of the flaws, and we're going to try to pick those up. And I'll try to show you what I can of those in the video, but also photographs. We'll try to get each one of those individually. So starting off here, I think the weakest thing with the car is probably the chrome. It looks really good from 5 feet. You get up close, you'll see some pitting. In the case of the bumpers, there is some specks here, and on each end of the bumpers always should be replated. Look at items like the door handles. I don't know how well it picks up. There's a slight bit of pitting in that. Not much. You can see it in the mirror. Of course, all these pieces here are stainless, so they're all good. In fact, one of the nice things about these, quite often you see these stainless pieces and they've got scratches all over them from random orbit sanders, DA sanders, and that's really tough to get out, but these are really nice. I couldn't find any marks like that. Again, this chrome looks good, but if you get to looking close, you'll see some pitting in some of the recessed areas. Same with the trim for the hood scoop. I don't know how well that picks that up in the light, but there's certainly some pitting in that as well. Those items are not at all difficult to replace, not that expensive. Bumper guards are beautiful. The fronts of the bumpers the center sections are in great shape. It's just the outside ends. Something you may or may not care about, or not want to take care of right away. Let's talk about the paint now. This car was painted, I would guess, in the 2005-06 area, just based considering the man who bought the car in 2007, so it was painted before then because it was as it sits today when he bought it mostly. So first off, this fender. When we got the car here, it had 2 creases down this fender here where it had rolled down the man's driveway and hit his truck and put a crease in the fender. So we sent it out, had the crease pulled out, and they resprayed the fender, blended it in, and it did a nice job with it. Color match is close, but it's not exact. Red's very difficult to match, and it's you have to be looking for it to notice it, though. We were happy with it. You'll see there are some places like here where the paint has been touched up. There. But again, overall, the paint looks really good. There is, you can see this right here. It's like a sanding trail that goes across. And we color sanded that and got most of that out, but we didn't want to go any further because you never know how much clear is left. And once you go through the clear and hit the base coat, it's nothing but tears after that. You got real trouble. So you have to be in just the right light to catch that. But again, it's there. There is a little blister here on the trunk. And there are a couple tiny blisters, and I think we'll have to get the car in the air to show you on the bottom of the quarter panel. Now again, this paint's very old, so any rust I think in the car was repaired properly with patch panels, so it wasn't just bonded over rust as we've seen in the past. Those cars usually the paint jobs start coming apart in a year or so, if not less than that. This being 12 to 15 years old is it's going to show you whatever's there. And that's the great thing about an old paint job. It can't really hide a lot. There's also some sort of blemish here. I think it's from a repair. I don't know if the camera can pick that up. Yeah, you might be able to see a little bit of a wrinkle to it. But anyway, that is there as well. But overall, the paint looks really good. It's a car that, if you're not just one of us crazy die-hard car guys, you see it, you say that, well, that car's mint condition, it's just perfect, it's flawless, but it's not. Interior, kind of the same situation, good shape. Some of the chrome is showing some pitting. It's had the gauges added on down below the dash, which is actually nice. Tachometer does not work. The car's got the wrong distributor in it. It does not have the tack drive distributor. One thing that's nice is the horn ring is intact, which is unusual. Those break off fairly easy, and they're about $350 for the new piece. So be careful with that thing. Trim otherwise good. It's got some spots like here in this vinyl piece, it's got a little tear, kind of the same thing on the seat. Soft top, car has both tops, which is a great feature. However, the soft top is old and it needs to be recovered. So, you're looking at, I think a new top is about $650, then plus the labor to install it. It's a black top currently, but I give you the option if you want to go with a white top. Either way, you're good. Of course, the hard top is also there. You can see it sitting over there on the garage floor, and those things always just sit in the garage, and people like to have them, but then they're just in the way and whatever. But look here, it's, just the torch red and white is a beautiful combination. Now, this car, when you look at the data plate, you'll see it's a color code V, which is goldenrod yellow. So the car originally was yellow with yellow and black interior, which some people really like, which I do, but many do not like it. And that can be a difficult, you shrink your market down when you have a yellow car, unless maybe it's a fly yellow Ferrari or something of that nature. But anyway, it's been changed, and that happens to a lot of these cars. It's got, I believe those are the Diamondback white wall tires, and they've got a 2009 date, late 2009 date code on them. So even though they, the tread is essentially new, they are 10 years old. And this is the first thing I would do if I owned the car. This is my car, is replace this air cleaner. Somehow the original air cleaner has been misplaced. I don't know if it's in an attic somewhere, but the owners have not been able to locate it, so just consider it gone. But I would get on the phone with Casco or Hill's Thunderbird or one of the other Thunderbird parts vendors and just order the proper air cleaner, because that's such an iconic piece for these cars, and it should be there. Car runs really well. I'll start it up here in a minute. I won't run it long because we're in a closed garage, but it runs really good. Did a compression test, and 150 was the lowest cylinder, 158 was the highest, so really close on all of them. Good numbers there. I think the engine's probably pretty fresh. The bad news is, whenever they rebuilt it, they did a pretty sorry job painting the engine. So I think at some point you think about, taking a weekend or two and stripping the accessories off the engine and repainting that engine, make it look really good. And I think you really, would take this car up one notch or two just doing that. I think that would be, you got $100 of materials maybe, and probably 10 or 12 hours of labor, and you're going to make the car look completely different. When you raise that hood, you can show, then you can show it anywhere, and it's going to look really good. Do fine at local shows. Because you can see all the paint work under the hood. That's all really good. That's all as it should be. It's got the proper wiring connectors and all that. That's all as it should be. The pieces are there. It's just when you get to looking close, they just did not do a good job painting this engine. And it's almost, well, I think it started off as a Ford red, but it's almost faded to a Chevrolet red or Chevrolet orange now, and that really needs to go. So, but it's got, like I say, other than that, and it's got a Carter AFB carburetor instead of the original Holley 4000, which a lot of the people replace those because they are a bit troublesome, but they are available. They're not hard to find, and there are guys around that can rebuild those and make them where your car will run really well. But first thing I would do again is replace the air cleaner and spend 2 minutes, swap it out, and that's going to help it immensely. Not much else to say about under the hood. You can see when they did the paint, even though it's a color change, they painted everywhere. They did a really good job with that. The only place they did not paint is underneath the car. They painted it black instead of red. And to do that right, you've got to do a body off the frame, and that did not happen here. So, as mentioned before, this is an incorrect distributor for the car. I mean, it's a Y-block distributor, but it does not have the drive for the tachometer, and that's a pretty rare item. They're available, but they are a little pricey. You probably will spend $400 or so for one of those distributors, just based on what I see them for on eBay. You might find one cheaper to swap me, but they're not the easiest thing to find. This car has been converted to 12 volt, which is nice. I've got a 6-volt car now. I've owned 6-volt cars for many years, and they can be a pain for a number of reasons. You can get them where they work fine, but batteries are getting difficult to find now. They don't last long. You're lucky to get a year or two out of them, even if you're using one of the red top Optimas. They don't last. And then the wiring's got to be perfect. Well, with the 12 volt, they just work well. You can go anywhere to replace the battery. Not a difficult thing. So that's one of those things that just makes sense to do. I think that helps the car more than hurts the value. So let's start this up. And real quick, these cars have to be in neutral, which is a great safety or theft prevention item, if you don't know. So they had a true neutral safety switch. If they're not neutral, they will not start. You can see just how smoothly the engine runs. 292, and they're good engines. With modern oil technology, these engines are fantastic. The problem they had, they would plug up with the oil that was available in the late 50s. With modern oil, it's a great engine. I think Ford would have kept building it up with the oil problem. But anyway, this one runs really good. Now there's no PCV system on this car, so you will see a little bit of vapor will work its way out of the breather cap, as it's supposed to do, because there's no vacuum sucking that vapor back into the engine. Shut it off here because I'm in a closed garage. Trunk's in nice shape. It is missing the jack, and as you can see with this radial spare tire, it's got a lot wider cross section than the old bias ply did, so it will not slide all the way over underneath that quarter panel like it should. Therefore, that should be in the middle with the bolt going through it, but you can't get it over far enough, so you have to go through a bolt hole, which is fine. It's good and tight. It's not going anywhere, but that is not exactly as a left Dearborn. But the radial tires help these cars so much. I even put radials on my 35 Ford. It's a huge improvement. Original gas cap, things like that. Trunk light is not working for it. I'm not sure what reason. The bulb looks good. I don't know why it's not working. But again, you can see when they painted, they got everywhere. It wasn't, you know, just spraying outside and a little bit of paint hitting the jams. They did a nice job with the color change. So let's get it up in the air, and we'll have a look at the bottom, which the news there is mostly really good. I won't make you suffer through watching the thing raise up. We are up in the air and locked into position, so let's have a look underneath. You can grab the flashlight here. So, first thing I saw that I liked about this car is the frame is not pitted and rusted. Well, that's something you don't see from the outside. It's very important, and what's important, it shows the car is not from a salt area, or it wasn't driven on salt roads anyway. In fact, if you look up here, you can see the fresh air ductwork is all intact. That's original steel pieces. Those rust out. It was not a good design, because mud and salt and whatever would get back behind there and then cause them to rust out. But these are nice. Reproductions are available in fiberglass, and they're about $900 a pair, and you know, that's your only option right now. Okay, one thing I did notice is they have put a spacer in this one coil spring. The other side doesn't have it. I guess that spring has gotten tired, and that's, you know, the old school fix. That's what you would do. So I don't notice anything when I drive the car. That seems to be working, but I want you to be aware of it. As you can see, the car has been converted to disc brakes, and that was done just recently. The current owner, he had that done, just wasn't confident with the drum brakes that were on it, and that's a nice upgrade. The original drums do go with the car. We got them in the box, so they will go along with the car. Looking underneath, power steering control valve has got a leak. That's a paper gasket in between there. I would start there and see if you can stop the leak, but that may or may not work, and it might be leaking more than just one spot. Those are notorious for that. We had a pretty substantial leak at the back of the engine that I thought was a rear main seal, and the rear main seal is leaking some, but it's not bad. It's typical of an old Y block. But the drain plug here, that it had an old metal washer on it, and it was just, I don't know, it wouldn't seal anymore. So bought a new one from Casco with a nylon washer, and all is good. That solved that. But like I say, you still do have a bit of a drip, which is common. You just throw a drain pan underneath there, and that's that. This has got the original cast iron Ford-O-Matic transmission, and it's air cooled, which is unusual. You can see the cooling fins on the torque converter, and it's got this ductwork here where it pulls the air through across the torque converter to cool the transmission fluid. Where, you know, most cars, as transmission technology progressed, they routed the fluid up to the radiator where it would cool it there. But this is actually air cooled, which is kind of a neat feature. Of course, Y blocks have an external oil pump, which is kind of neat as well. This car's got tremendous oil pressure. You can see some wetness on the transmission pan. I haven't cleaned any of this up. I don't want, you not think it's there and hide it away. That would be easy to do, but you do have a little bit of wetness there. It had a pretty good leak on the rear seal, so I replaced, I don't know if you can see it here. Yeah, we go. So I did replace that. That's new, and that seemed to have solved that problem. Body-wise, this seems to be in good shape, real good shape. And here's the shim between the body and the frame. And they have different numbers at each spot on everything. Every one of them is different. And that's how you adjust the body, where the lines fit right and the doors shut squarely. So this door over here is a little bit wide at the top. I think, this shim, or maybe the one back here, I would add a shim to that, and I think you will close that gap up a little bit. Quick, easy to do. Just get to the inside, pull the nut out, add your shim, jack it up, add the shim in, bolt it back together, and you're through. Originally these cars, the exhaust went through the rear valance panel and out the bumper, which is really cool, except your bumper then turns black. So this one they have routed underneath, which is a common modification to these. And what's interesting on these is the front and rear bumper guards are the same with the exception of this center bullet. That's from a front. So you can add these to the back and close that hole off, and it looks like it's the factory, the way the factory did it. And it's a nice change. I've got an original open one over there I will show you here in a little bit. Floor underneath looks really good in most places. Rear quarter, it's all metal here. You can see both layers of the steel for the inner and outer panel. I don't know how well the camera's going to pick it up, but you can see the original spot welds. When we get on this other side, they have put in a patch right here. And you can see where they have some filler there where they had patched that. And it's okay, but when you get the car up in the air and you're looking at this sort of detail, you do notice that. This spot right here, that needs to be a new section welded in there. Pull the carpet out, cut out that piece, weld the new piece, spray some black paint back on there, and you're done. You're good to go. It's not a real difficult repair, and you're not dealing with the exterior very expensive paints being where the repair is. And then you also will see, if I can get it in the light there, that frame rail's got some holes. They're small, but they're there. So I would, frame rail's not the right word. I'm thinking Mustang terminology, but of that part of the body, should be replaced at the same time. My experience has been when you have a car that's really beautiful on the bottom and painted body color or the correct kind of primer and overspray and all those things, then you are paranoid about it and hate to drive it. This car, if something gets chipped off, you just spray a little bit more black paint and you'll go on down the road. And that makes the car really more enjoyable to own. But you go to a Concord show, it would never compete with those cars that have had the frame off restoration. It just won't. That doesn't make this a bad car, but it's something you should be aware of, because I know when the photographs this car, it's just going to look like $1 million. It's going to look like one of them that come from Amos Minter in Dallas, and one that just got the incredible restoration on it, but it's not quite one of those. Here underneath, this section of the floor has been replaced. It's got a patch panel. You can see it's the proper pre-made patch panel. It's not just some hardware store galvanized sheet metal somebody's welded in place. It's the proper patch panel, but you can see the seam where they welded it in. But that's the proper way to fix that. When you get on the outside, how well we can see, all those outrigger pieces, they're all in good shape, not rusted like so many of them do, because moisture can get on the backside and mud and then just hold the moisture and make them rust. And that's not the case with this. And you can see the bottom of the rocker, both sides, they need to be cleaned up. It just is one that deals with a paint job. If the car's on rotisserie, you can do a lot better job of painting that. Or if the painter is really dedicated, he can do it, even with the car sitting on the ground. But it's, again, one of those things that you're going to see on a $20,000 paint job versus one that's, $8,000 or $10,000. Also, we talked about some parts that were missing, so let's look at those real quick before we get the car on the ground and take it for a ride. This is an original 4000 Holley carburetor. This is what should be on that car. Not many people like them. They're not the best carburetor in the world, but there are guys that can make them run right. This is from all this stuff's from my personal 55 Thunderbird. This is your rear bumper guard if you have the exhaust going through the hole. So the difference is the other, it's got that cone there that closes it off. Flip to the back side, you can see it's got this bracket here that holds the exhaust pipe right through the center. So to change it over to the other style, you just have to get this, and I believe these are available aftermarket. This is a tack drive distributor. The difference being, you can see this section of the distributor here that's not on normal, and that's where the The cable goes in there. It's a Belden cable that runs to the tachometer and turns it, so it's all mechanical driven. Pretty neat setup, but these are a little difficult to find. And then this is, of course, the correct Thunderbird air cleaner, and they just make them look so much better under the hood. But those are available aftermarket, and they're absolutely beautiful. And that would be, again, the first thing I would do is get on the phone and order one of those.